We're sitting on this show, what was it, last week? Looked up at ESPN. There was a young man with his family around him. And he chose Michigan, Jaden Davis. Okay.
Always comes back to me.
No, hold on. Again, and this is where I'm going with it. Hold on. Is that Harbaugh, 2 years in a row now, has come this close to going back to the NFL, it feels. He literally, on a signing day 2 years ago, was talking to the Vikings on a signing day, okay? And this past year, I mean, it was as red hot as possible after he said, people are going to be so upset when I come back to Michigan, and then he's talking to the Broncos. I mean, it was wild. And for all us in the Michigan fan base, we're like, he's just going to ruin it when it comes to recruiting. Who's going to come? And this kid chooses Michigan over Clemson and North Carolina and another school that escapes me off the top of my head. And he says the reason why he's going is because of Harbaugh. He wants to run through a wall for him. So what gives? How is this just continuing on? I'm not complaining about it. It's just wild to me.
I feel like there is more buzz right now around them recruiting wise than there has been since he's been there, right? And part of that is because you've kicked the butts of Ohio State in back-to-back years. People saw that. The fact that he's still there, this will be his most talented team he's ever had in Ann Arbor. I think they're really, really interesting because they had all these kids, Blake Corum most notably, because we know the story about running backs and their shelf life. I am fascinated to see what Michigan football looks like in 2023 because they didn't, you and I were both in the building when they lost to TCU. I think the biggest challenge for Jim Harbaugh is being some of the people who he really leaned on to push back on him at times in the last couple of years are not there anymore. But the talent is really, really good now. I think the Big Ten East is going to be wild because Ohio State, you have to replace CJ, but there's, it's still Ohio State. They've still recruited incredibly well.
Right.
You have Penn State. They love their young quarterback, Drew Aller, who's taken over. They just want to, this should be a really scary Penn State team. So now you have three teams who feel like they are legit playoff contenders. I think Jim Harbaugh is going to be really interesting to watch this year.
So he doesn't skip a beat, even though he's made. I mean, you could say footsie or whatever.
He defies logic. He is so unusual. Is not the nicest way to put it, but when he wins, it's hard for people to understand. Why was he able to do what he did at Stanford? It's one of the greatest coaching turnaround jobs that anybody has done in college football in the last, at least in my lifetime. And then he went to Michigan and he got them better. And then he kind of plateaued. And then all of a sudden, we talked a lot about what they did to kind of hit the gas and plow up the hill. And they did. And now it's like they're on a different level. Can they win a national title? He's shown he can be the bully of the Big Ten, and that matters. Now can they, and these are the kind of kids and these are kind of recruiting battles you need to win if you're going to make a run at a national title. And think about the teams now that have to replace key guys. I mean, Georgia's positioned well to make a run at doing something nobody's ever done in college football, which is win 3 in a row. Alabama not only has to replace its starting quarterback Bryce, they have to replace the best player in the program or the best defensive player in the program, Will Anderson. I mean, the team, no CJ at Ohio State. There are definite question marks of all the teams that you think are like, oh yeah, but they're there. So I don't know if there was a year when Jim Harbaugh could win a national title at Michigan, man, this is the one that it shapes up.
And there's USC out here though. I mean, there's Caleb Williams. You want to talk about the number 1 overall pick in next year's draft? You could pretty much say, knock on wood, he stays healthy. That's it. I mean,
they just need to get a lot better on defense.
They couldn't tackle Utah,
and they were physically not ready to play, defense against really physical teams. And I think they'll get better. They have to get a lot better.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.